along the floor. Then I see you, you're walking across the campus. Cool professor studying romances. How am I supposed to pretend I never want to see you again? How am I supposed to pretend I never want to see you again?
Hello, welcome to the Vanguard Voices. I am one of your many hosts, Yasir, and we're excited. This is our first episode, and this is a revival of the original Vanguard Voices. I'm going to start by introducing myself, and then my fellow co-hosts, we're going to go ahead and introduce themselves, and our board will also go. So let me start from the top. My name is Yasir. I am class of 2026. My major is undecided because I cannot choose nothing for the life of me. But it is what it is. I am podcast lead, and I am on the Vanguard. I just started a semester ago, I think last semester, and this project just came out of nowhere, and I was so excited to take it, and here I am. And I thank Paulina, and I thank Kate. So yeah.
I'll go next. My name is Jada. I am class of 2026, a sophomore. My major is the lovely journalism, what I partake in, what I live and breathe. And I am a staff writer for the Vanguard. Staff writer position, a little bit of last semester, but really fully integrated this semester. Happy to be here.
Yay.
All right, I'm Amira. I'm also class of 2026. I'm also a sophomore. I am also a journalism and media studies major, film minor. I'm a professional yapper. I am also the arts editor for the Vanguard. Started that position this semester, and I'm also so excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, this is an awesome team. What's up right now?
Jada, do you want to start us off with our BC
Oh my God,
Reacts?
wait, everybody, wait. Kalela didn't introduce
Kalela.
herself. Come
We
on,
have
introduce
a queen
yourself.
running the board.
Hi, my name is Kalela. I am a staff writer at the Vanguard. My major is communications, and I got into it because I always wanted to join the school newspaper, but I got homeschooled in high school, so I just decided, you know what, let me transfer my dreams here and join the newspaper.
Okay, so we're just going to talk a little bit about our new issue 6, just dropped on the Vanguard website, and we'll have the print coming out this week. We are super excited for that. Just kind of starting with the cover, the lovely Groundbreakers Conference from the BC Women of Color Club, which is really exciting. And then we also have a story about our Women's Center. Amira, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in the art section, we have a nice piece about the crochet and chill sessions that we've been having at the Women's Center every Thursday this March. It dives a little bit into the history of fiber arts and feminism and how we're weaving that into our Women's Center here at Brooklyn College. We've also got in the arts section a comic of the week and a Brooklyn themed crossword if you're looking for something fun to do, looking to kill some time.
We love a crossword. Kind of diving into news a little bit. We have our BC Reacts about the bag checks in the subway. If you haven't heard, Governor Kathy Hochul has, asked the National Guard to kind of be in the subway, performing bag checks in the city. This is an issue that we kind of all face. We're all New Yorkers. We take the subway. So my vigilant Brooklyn College students, be on alert, be on guard, but don't be scared. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna be just all right. And then we also have a little bit about our TikTok ban, which we all know and love. I love TikTok. I consume it every day. But we have a couple things going on in our government concerning what will be the future of TikTok. And we would love to hear anyone out there their own opinions about how they feel about what's going on. So yeah.
And that was our issue review. Thank you for listening. We're going to do an intermission, and we're going to bring in our special guest. This special guest has done a phenomenal job at keeping the Vanguard running. Of course, with everybody else. I'm not forgetting about everybody else, but Kate is our special guest, and so we will see her in 5 minutes. So enjoy Kate's song choice of Around the World. World around. That song is so catchy. Welcome back from our intermission, and we have our special guest here with us today. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Kate Dempsey here, editor-in-chief of the Vanguard.
What is up? Before we even get started into anything, why did you pick this song? The song is like an oldie. It's so fun. I love it. I love it so much.
Anyone that knows me knows that I am obsessed with Daft Punk. I would call myself the biggest fan in the world. It's why I DJ. It's why I'm into so many different things. So I knew I had to pick a Daft Punk song.
That's what's up. What do you think about that? What do you like the song?
I love that song. It makes me ready to party, and I feel like it fits you because you've got that little DJ side.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
for sure.
Makes sense.
So I think we're gonna start with what made you join the Vanguard? How did you start? What is the Vanguard? Tell our listeners so that they can, know more about us.
I guess I'll start maybe with the second question, talking more just about the Vanguard in general. We are a legacy newspaper on campus, which I love telling people because we've been around forever, since 1936. And the fact that we can trace our history all the way back to then is just absolutely insanely cool to me. And our history, too, is like recognized nationwide because, in the 1950s, we got shut down because President Gideon was like a FBI informant and he thought we were communists. It was a crazy story. And so then the Vanguard was just run out of someone's basement. And then
That's so underground.
It was pretty crazy. And then one of those guys ended up, being a co-founder of CNN. So they were so dedicated. Wow. And then for the longest time, this campus had two newspapers, the Kingsman and Excelsior. But then just in 2019, they joined forces and created the Vanguard again. So that's where we're at now. And then, just for myself, I got into writing for the Vanguard because I loved the opportunity to uplift student voices and to cover people in the events that were not being talked about. My first story was about the Uyghur genocide that's happening in China right now, because they had a few activists come and speak at the school. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I absolutely need to cover this. So that's kind of how I first got involved, was just covering activism-related events.
That's really cool to hear. That's also a very ambitious first story. I know a lot of the times, especially as a student journalist, it can be a little overwhelming throwing yourself in that situation. So I wanted to ask you, as a student journalist, how do you advocate for yourself and make sure that your voice is heard and that you're taken seriously?
Ooh, that's a great question. I've actually been talking about this a lot because it's Women's History Month. And I was talking with some of the other women student leaders on the campus about how does it feel when there's times when you don't feel like you're being taken seriously because you are a woman in a leadership position. So I like to think to myself, at the end of the day, it does matter, but it shouldn't, so long as someone is doing impactful work and is doing it in an empathetic and powerful way. I think that's the greatest way someone can continue to be in that leadership position. And then also for myself, self-care is so critical. And it's funny because I consider myself an activist before everything, but I also find that I struggle the most with advocating for myself. So it's something that I'm constantly learning and trying to improve upon.
Yeah, I think it's a constant battle when you try to advocate for yourself. Being an activist, you have to start by advocating for yourself.
Facts.
And especially as women, it's really important that
we
put ourselves out there and make sure that people are listening.
Exactly.
And I actually want to talk a little bit about your position on the Vanguard. You're editor-in-chief. That's insane.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to make the decision to become editor-in-chief? What pushed you to do it?
No, this is going to be a crazy funny story because it was completely not my decision and it was kind of sprung upon me, and the past editor-in-chiefs will tell you this, because I was just a staff writer in the spring. I had written only 4 articles as a staff writer, and so then all the editors sat me down. They were like, all right, next semester you're going to be managing editor, and then after that you're going to be editor-in-chief. And I was like, what? Are you serious? I haven't even been a section editor. What are you talking about? And I was truly blown away. And so honestly, it was it was never well, obviously I had to decide, like, yeah, I'm going to say, but it was definitely a collaborative sort of effort to choose who becomes it, with the previous staff. So, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That's how you
I still can't believe it. Sometimes there's some days where I'm like, holy wow, I run a college newspaper. Like, it just blows my mind.
It finally like sunk in your brain, and it's still not in there. It's still not
literally
still not in there.
But you know what? You are doing the thing. I will say.
Oh, I thank you.
As someone that works under you, you're an incredible editor and also a
Oh
very
my God.
compassionate leader, which I think is
Yeah.
really
No one
important.
can see this, but I'm blushing right now.
I also say the same thing. I was talking to Kate about this recently. I was just like, you really bring the vibes in the room.
Oh
We
my
have
God,
our
you guys
meetings,
are so sweet.
and our meetings are every Thursday in Roosevelt. I don't remember the room. number.
118.
118. You can take the first door when you walk into games. Turn left down the path all the way down. We're right there. Show up.
We're in a cute little corner.
Yeah.
There's little journalism cutouts on the wall, so you'll know it's us.
Yeah, but so now that you've talked about the Vanguard, let's go ahead and ask this question. Journalism can be a very stressful industry, and we were just talking about self-care, right? How have you learned to decompress? Like, it can be very hard to go through an event and experience it and then recall it and put it out into words. But how do you decompress? Give us a little bit about your self-care. Like, how do you
Yeah. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, if I've covered something that's like really, really serious, like especially last semester, if it's something like really serious, I will just need to go into full meditation mode. So that means I literally sit in the dark in my room, put on some of that spa music, if you will, and
I know exactly what you're
we're
talking
going to
about.
meditate right now. I don't know if I actually fully meditate, but it's just kind of like a, little nice sensory deprivation, if you will. And I mean, I think music also helps. Like, I'll usually spin on my decks as sort of a nice way to cope, because once I get in the zone of mixing, like, it's just something very therapeutic to do something hands-on. So I would say that's my two methods for self-care and coping, if you will.
I think we heard a little bit about this earlier with you talking about your first story being about the genocide of Uyghurs and about you being an activist first. But do you have a favorite kind of story to cover? Is there something you're specifically looking for when you look at the list of things you could talk about?
I always look for a story involving marginalized communities, especially communities of color, because I feel like their voices are not represented as much as white voices should be. And that's really how I got my start, is through these different advocacy campaigns for communities of color. So I've found that a lot of my coverage is activism related. I mean, I could probably look through my record of stuff, and it's just all activism campaign coverage. And that's how I got my start as an activist and as a journalist, was just going to these protests and covering it.
That reminds me of a story you told me once, where in high school you were voted Fight the Power. Was that your
by
moniker
Public
in
Enemy?
high school?
Yes. I love that you remembered that. I love that.
Speaking of experiences and doing that, I wanted to ask you a question about how has the Vanguard opened doors for you in personal and academic career? Like, success. How has that opened those doors for you? I mean, I've seen you so far. You've been to these wonderful events and you're bringing to the table your experience. Like, how has this opened things for you?
Oh, wow. I gotta say, honestly, this is gonna sound so melodramatic, but being afforded the privilege of these leadership positions has completely changed my life, just with the opportunities that I have been given, going to these events like the Oslo Freedom Forum to cover the activists there. There's so many ways that this has changed me. I mean, it's funny because I don't really I know I'm the guest, but I don't like talking about myself. And I think that's really why I got involved with doing the Vanguard, is because I like talking about other people's stories. So, I'm not sure if that fully answers the question.
No,
but
that does. Anything is okay. Anything is accepted. That was a wonderful answer. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about how a lot of your journalism is activism based and goes into like wanting to give voice to marginalized people. Do you think that's kind of reflective of our current state in journalism? What are your thoughts on kind of where journalism is headed?
That's another great question. I was actually speaking about this with one of my editors today because we took a class together at Brooklyn College, and one of our professors said, you can't be an activist and a journalist. And I just sat in that classroom and I was like, I completely disagree. There's literally a whole subfield of journalism called advocacy journalism. And I feel like we're moving towards this new wave of journalism where that is more accepted, because that's kind of very old school to think that way. Like, your journalism isn't a form of activism. And I think especially with our generation, we love activism. I consider so many people, even if they don't directly call themselves an activist, I consider a lot of people to be advocates anyway. So if I had to, I can't overgeneralize about the current state, but I can see it moving towards that direction.
And yeah, sorry, do you have anything to say before I go into the next question? Actually,
You're all good.
Hit the head right on the nail. I believe I probably said it wrong, but hey, it's okay. I was gonna ask you, what do you believe is the current state of journalism? Where do you see it going? Do you think it's lost its authenticity?
Ooh, current state of journalism. We're going through a time where, there's always been not a lot of trust in the media. I think that's especially true now. I think a lot of people have lost hope in the media in regards to current events, especially when it comes to, covering what's happening in Gaza. And so honestly, I feel like it's looking a little dire. It's looking a little bleak. We got a lot of misinformation between, the political parties going head to head. But now we also have this, they call it an AI revolution, but it's really, in my opinion, for the worst, because you have all this content being generated without any backing for it. And I think we're sadly going to be relying more and more on, these robot overlords to do the work for us. But I think there's still forever and always going to be dedicated journalists who are going to be out here, in the field, doing their best to cover what is truly happening in the world. So
I think that I can speak on behalf of a lot of young journalists, a lot of student journalists. It's a really scary time to be a journalist. You're seeing a lot of layoffs. You're seeing a lot of distrust in the media. What advice would you have for young journalists out there that maybe you're interested in getting into journalism but are a little bit afraid based on the current state of journalism?
Yeah, I would suggest just honestly do what I did and just show up. I think a lot of that initial hesitation is sort of, oh, should I go to this? I don't think I have what it takes, or I don't know what's going to happen. I say just, if you have an inkling towards maybe being a journalist, just show up to things and see how it goes. You never, ever know what's going to come of it and what you can learn. And I would just say the other most important part that I say in regards to so many things is just educate yourself, educate on these different issues and find what you're passionate about, because I guarantee you, when you find a topic or an issue that you're passionate about, advocating for, the rest will follow. Like, you're going to want to write about this, you're going to want to cover this in the news, and it'll feel more natural to you.
I just wanted to ask you, I just wanted to say sorry. I agree with you. I never really took the chance to, find that hobby that I have is to do journalism. I first heard of the Vanguard through Paulina.
We love Paulina.
Yeah. She honestly introduced me. I was taking a course, and so we met through like a small event, and she told me, you should come join the Vanguard. I was like, all right, cool. So I went to the first meeting, and then I chose my first event, and I went. It was an art exhibit, and it was so fun. It was so fun.
You get introduced to a lot of cool people, events, and clubs by doing the Vanguard on campus.
Yeah. You also get the chance to meet different people, different backgrounds, different careers. You also see faces you haven't seen before. And I think that is so important on such a big urban campus.
Yeah.
That it's very difficult to create a sense of community and to create a sense of connection between each student and, even the admin. The admin don't know what's going on with the students. So this newspaper gives them the chance to listen and read what's going on. I mean, now it's listen, we're making a podcast, but before it was to
Yeah.
read the newspaper. So yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to add to that. I was going to say, I personally am not from the city. I'm from Seattle, so I'm all the way across the country.
I'm from Connecticut, so I feel that.
Right. And being on the Vanguard has really made me so much more comfortable on campus, so much more comfortable in the city. I feel like I have so many more friends and connections. And I also want to thank you, Kate, for that, because I had done some writing for the Vanguard in the past, but I was a little shy to show up for things. And you approached me and you're like, have you ever thought about being an arts editor? And that was kind of my pathway in. So I think that's something that I really admire about you as a leader, is your ability to kind of see people and put them where they need to be. Kind of, how have you learned that? Was that something that you learned? Is that something you've always seen in yourself?
I would say that I think it stems from being empathetic and seeing what the interests are in someone and how they want to make their dreams come true, and just, doing a little nudge, a little point in the right direction. And, it's something I still, as a leader, am learning for myself. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about for young student journalists. I mean, when I first joined the Vanguard, that first piece had 80 edits on this. I like 80 edits on it. I tell people this all the time. I had 80 edits on it, and I thought, like, wow, I'm not.
Edits.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I
Little
am.
highlights.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The Google highlights.
Every time I submit it, I'm like, oh my god, my toes are curling, and I'm like, I can't, I'm gonna get like 90 edits.
Oh my gosh, no, it's so, again, it's like, I didn't think I was cut out for it, but now look at where I am, and I truly envision that for a lot of different people. I love seeing people grow and connecting people. So if I see that in someone, I'm like, yeah, I got you.
Right. Now you're the person that can leave 80 edits on an
Yeah.
article. You have a confident 80 edits.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna ask another question. I love my questions, but
As you should, they're great.
so, Kate, where do you see yourself? Do you think that you want to continue doing journalism and being an activist? I know you're an activist at heart. That's what I've understood. You are an activist. Do you see yourself continuing to do this for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so as I've said, like, I consider myself an activist above everything. So I don't think I have like a set plan for my future. I actually envy anyone that does, because that's it must be so nice for you. I don't know. I'm just going to see where my advocacy takes me. I've always said to myself, like, wow, if I could make my advocacy into a job, that would be ideal. Journalism just ended up being one method of doing so. So I'm just going to see where the path takes me. Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I hope the best for you. And
Likewise.
I do have one more question. This is just super lighthearted, but what is the most fulfilling aspect of being editor-in-chief on the Vanguard?
Oh, the most fulfilling. I truly love coming to the meetings on Thursdays and just seeing everyone have a good time and connecting with one another and having this sense of community in this space on campus. And that, to me, is the most fulfilling part about doing this. It's not like, oh yeah, I got my piece published, like I'm in this leadership position. No, it's seeing our community come together and just hang out and do this together as a team. That, to me, has been what makes all of this so worthwhile, is just seeing us come together. So.
And if you need any incentive to come to those meetings on Thursday, Kate works at Trader Joe's and she hooks us up with great snacks every
This is
Thursday.
This is true.
We've got like seaweed snacks, Oreos, lots of juice. So pull up.
I use my discount. I like.
Yeah, we
I-
got the
Those
hookup.
Trader Joe's snacks,
Indeed,
yo. I do want to say I would like to thank Kate and the whole team for setting up this revival. This has
Yes.
been awesome. This is only our first podcast, and I hope it continues going, because this has been a fun experience. And I think that as time goes on, we hope to get more listeners, and we thank you for listening. And I think it's important that we get the chance to speak more than just, not only just write in our newspapers, but also talk and kind of create a connection with you who's listening. So thank you, Kate, for getting this revival started.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited for the rest of the series. I know we're going to kill it, so it's going to be great. And thank you to all our readers and listeners for continuing to support us.
Yep, and if you are looking to check us out, you can find all of our articles on vanguard.blog.brooklyn.edu, and you can also find copies at the front of most of our buildings here on campus.
Yeah. And thank you, Kate, for coming to do this interview. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all for listening.